After Danny, a framework definitely began. I was able to say to people, here's what I'm seeing, and here's why I'm seeing it, and here's the meaning in it, and here's where the healing can be in it. It was no longer overwhelming, out of control, random bits of information. There was definitely a process to it. And at the age of 21, I made a decision to use my gift professionally. And that decision was made the moment I watched my grandfather, Eric, pass away. My grandfather was high on morphine. He was completely unresponsive. He was laying in his bed and I was on one side and my father was on the other. And suddenly, out of this comatose state, he jolted up and he said, the light, the light. And he honestly looked like a kid that had seen the boogeyman, and the nurses, they rushed in and we closed the drapes. And yet my grandfather, sadly, he continued to have this frenetic panic and this disorganized conversation with the ceiling. And he was saying, where are we going? And where are you taking me? Why, what are you doing? And I knew that he was passing over. And then suddenly, everything in the room went completely still. It was so tranquil. And that vast presence that I had felt as a child and throughout my life, it surrounded all of us. And my grandfather, he lay back gently in his bed. I had been terrified of losing my grandfather. I mean, just terrified. We were extremely close. But there, in that room, with that presence, that stillness, and that grace, every single fear I had, it dissipated. And although I had tears strolling down my face, I was able to lean into him with a really deep sense of calm. And I kissed his face and I told him, I love you, and it's okay, it's okay. And there, with me and my father, my grandfather took his last breath. I definitely didn't want to leave the room, not just because I didn't want to leave my grandfather, but because the serenity in that room was just unbelievable. And my grandmother, Rachel, had also come. She was very close to me, but sadly died when I was 2 years old. I had recognized her spirit, though, many times throughout my life. And it was so profound to experience this massive amount of love and peace in amongst such grief and such loss. There was also a message there for me that day in that room, and it was, Charlotte, this is the world that makes sense for you. This is where you can make most of a difference. And I didn't want to waste a single second. I quit my job that same day, and my life, it changed radically. I started officially taking people through a process from fear and paralysis to a place of hope and possibility. And that is how I started my career as an intuitive counselor.